Infections and disease of the respiratory system. The respiratory system can be affected by a number of infections and diseases, including 1. Common cold, a viral infection that affects the upper respiratory tract and causes symptoms such as coughing, sneezing, and congestion. 2. Influenza, a viral infection that affects the upper respiratory tract and can cause high fever, cough, and body aches. 3. Pneumonia, an infection of the lungs that can be caused by viruses, bacteria, or fungi. Symptoms include cough, fever, chest pain, and difficulty breathing. 4. Tuberculosis, a bacterial infection that primarily affects the lungs but can also affect other parts of the body. Symptoms include persistent cough, fever, weight loss, and night sweats. 5. Asthma, a condition in which the airways become inflamed and narrowed, making breathing difficult. Asthma can be triggered by allergens, irritants, exercise, or stress. 6. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD), a group of lung diseases that include chronic bronchitis and emphysema. COPD is characterized by difficulty breathing, coughing, and wheezing. 7. Lung cancer, a condition in which cells in the lungs grow uncontrollably and form tumors. Lung cancer can cause coughing, chest pain, and difficulty breathing. Prevention measures such as washing hands, avoiding close contact with sick people limit the risk of respiratory infections, while maintaining good respiratory hygiene including covering nose and mouth while coughing or sneezing. Wearing appropriate masks help in reducing the spread of respiratory diseases. Relationship between HIV and AIDS and respiratory diseases. HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, and AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, can weaken the immune system and make individuals more susceptible to respiratory diseases. When the immune system is compromised, it cannot effectively fight off infections, including those that affect the respiratory system. Individuals with HIV are at higher risk for respiratory infections such as pneumonia and tuberculosis. These infections can be more severe and more difficult to treat in individuals with HIV due to their weakened immune system. AIDS is the final stage of HIV infection and is characterized by a severe weakening of the immune system. Individuals with AIDS are at even higher risk for respiratory infections and may develop opportunistic infections such as pneumocystis jirovecii pneumonia PCP and Mycobacterium avium complex, MAC. These infections can be life-threatening in individuals with AIDS. It is important for individuals with HIV or AIDS to take preventative measures to protect their respiratory health, such as washing hands frequently, avoiding close contact with sick people, and maintaining good respiratory hygiene including covering their nose and mouth while coughing or sneezing and wearing appropriate masks. Antiretroviral therapy, ART, can also help to strengthen the immune system and lower the risk of respiratory infections. Regular medical checkups to detect early signs of respiratory diseases can also be beneficial in the management of HIV and AIDS. Revision Exercise 5.6. 1. What are respiratory diseases? Respiratory diseases are diseases or conditions that affect the respiratory system, which includes the lungs, bronchioles, trachea, and nasal passages. These diseases can be caused by various factors such as infections, environmental toxins, smoking, and genetic factors. Examples of respiratory diseases include asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD), pneumonia, tuberculosis, lung cancer, and influenza. These diseases can have a significant impact on a person's quality of life and can even be life-threatening in certain cases. Proper prevention measures and early detection through regular medical checkups are essential for managing respiratory diseases and promoting respiratory health. 2. Mention at least 5 diseases of the respiratory system. 1. Asthma. 2. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD). 3. Pneumonia. 4. Tuberculosis. 5. Lung cancer. 3. Explain the relationship between HIV and AIDS and respiratory diseases. HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, and AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, can weaken the immune system, making individuals more susceptible to respiratory diseases. When the immune system is compromised due to HIV infection or the progression to AIDS, it cannot effectively fight off infections, including those affecting the respiratory system. Individuals with HIV are at higher risk for respiratory infections such as pneumonia and tuberculosis. These infections can be more severe and more difficult to treat in individuals with HIV due to their weakened immune system. AIDS is the final stage of HIV infection and is characterized by a severe weakening of the immune system. Individuals with AIDS are at even higher risk for respiratory infections and may develop opportunistic infections such as pneumocystis jirovecii pneumonia PCP and Mycobacterium avium complex, MAC. These infections can be life-threatening in individuals with AIDS because their immune system is not strong enough to fight them off. Therefore, it is essential for individuals with HIV or AIDS to take preventative measures to protect their respiratory health, such as washing hands frequently, avoiding close contact with sick people, and maintaining good respiratory hygiene including covering their nose and mouth while coughing or sneezing and wearing appropriate masks. Antiretroviral therapy, ART, can also help strengthen the immune system and lower the risk of respiratory infections. Regular medical checkups that include respiratory system evaluation can be beneficial in early detection of respiratory diseases in individuals with HIV or AIDS. 4. How does gaseous exchange take place in the roots of the plants? Gaseous exchange in the roots of plants occurs through small pores called root hair cells. These cells allow for the exchange of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide between the plant and the soil. During gaseous exchange, oxygen from the air present in the soil diffuses into the root hair cells and enters the root system, where it is used in respiration. As the roots carry out cellular respiration, they produce carbon dioxide, which diffuses out of the root hair cells to the soil. Furthermore, the roots of some plants can also absorb gases such as nitrogen, hydrogen, and methane from the soil. These gases can be used by plants for different metabolic processes. Overall, gaseous exchange in the roots of plants is essential for the survival of the plant and the maintenance of its metabolic activities. 5. List 2 structural differences between the guard cells and the other epidermal cells. Guard cells are specialized epidermal cells found on the surface of leaves and stems that are responsible for regulating the opening and closing of stomata. 2 structural differences between guard cells and other epidermal cells are: 1. Shape. Guard cells are uniquely kidney-shaped, whereas other epidermal cells usually have a more regular shape such as rectangular or round. 2. Thickness. Guard cells are thicker than other epidermal cells. This thickness is due to the presence of chloroplasts and other specialized structures that enable them to perform their function of regulating the stomata. Other epidermal cells do not have these specialized structures and are therefore thinner. 6. State 3 factors that make the alveolus adapted to its function. The alveolus is a small, thin-walled sac found in the lungs, where the exchange of gases occurs. The following are 3 factors that make the alveolus adapted to its function. 1. Large surface area. The alveoli have a large surface area due to their numerous air-filled sacs. This large surface area provides a wide area for the exchange of gases, making it possible for efficient diffusion of oxygen from the lungs into the bloodstream and carbon dioxide from the bloodstream into the lungs. 2. Thin walls. The walls of the alveoli are thin, only 1 cell thick, which allows for a shorter distance for gas exchange to occur. This thinness reduces the resistance to gas diffusion, making it possible for oxygen to enter the bloodstream and carbon dioxide to exit the bloodstream quickly. 3. Moist environment. The alveoli are lined with a moist, thin film that helps to keep the walls of the alveoli moist. This moisture enables gases to dissolve and diffuse across the membrane more easily, making gas exchange more effective. Additionally, the moisture helps to prevent the alveoli from collapsing by maintaining surface tension. 7. Name the 3 surfaces through which gaseous exchange takes place in a frog. B. Name 3 structures through which gaseous exchange taken places in flowering plants. In frogs, gaseous exchange takes place through the following 3 surfaces. 1. The moist skin. Oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse in and out of the frog's body through its thin, moist skin. 2. The lungs. Frogs have a pair of lungs, and respiration can occur both through the skin and the lungs depending on the environment's oxygen levels. 3. The mouth lining. Frogs can also absorb oxygen through the lining of their mouth, which is highly vascularized and moist. B. In flowering plants, gaseous exchange takes place through the following 3 structures. 1. Stomata. These are small pores found on the surface of leaves and stems. Stomata enable the exchange of gases between the plant and the atmosphere, primarily carbon dioxide uptake for photosynthesis and oxygen release. 2. Lenticels. Lenticels are small, specialized pores found in woody stems of some plants. They allow gas exchange to occur between the internal tissues and the environment. 3. Root hairs. Root hairs in plants facilitate gas exchange between the roots and the surrounding soil environment. Oxygen diffuses in and carbon dioxide diffuses out of the root system through these thin-walled extensions. 8. Explain why. It is not healthy to sleep in a closed room with potted plants. B. It is dangerous to sleep in a poorly ventilated room with charcoal burner on. C. 1 pants during heavy exercises. It is not healthy to sleep in a closed room with potted plants because plants, like humans, release carbon dioxide when they respire. At night, plants continue to respire but do not perform photosynthesis. Therefore, they take in oxygen and release a small amount of carbon dioxide. A closed room with potted plants can lead to an accumulation of carbon dioxide in the air, which can cause headaches, dizziness, and even unconsciousness due to oxygen deprivation. B. It is dangerous to sleep in a poorly ventilated room with a charcoal burner on because when charcoal burns, it produces carbon monoxide gas, which is odorless, colorless, and potentially lethal. Inhaling carbon monoxide can cause symptoms such as headache, nausea, dizziness, confusion, and in severe cases, loss of consciousness. In poorly ventilated rooms, carbon monoxide can build up to toxic levels, leading to carbon monoxide poisoning, which can be fatal. C. When we exercise, our muscles require more energy, and that energy comes from the breakdown of glucose and stored muscle glycogen. During this process, oxygen is consumed, and carbon dioxide is produced. To get rid of this excess carbon dioxide, we breathe more heavily and rapidly to increase the oxygen intake and carbon dioxide output. The increased activity of the body's respiratory system causes us to pant during heavy exercises, which is a normal physiological mechanism to remove excess carbon dioxide from the body. 9. State the composition of inspired air and expired air in man. B. What is the role of the diaphragm during inspiration and expiration? The composition of inspired air and expired air in humans is as follows. Inspired air. Oxygen, 21%. Nitrogen, 79%. Trace amounts of other gases such as argon, carbon dioxide, and neon. Expired air. Oxygen, 16%. Carbon dioxide 4%. Nitrogen, 79%. Small traces of other gases such as methane, hydrogen, and helium. B. The diaphragm is a sheet-like dome-shaped muscle that separates the thoracic and abdominal cavities. During inspiration, the diaphragm contracts, flattening and moving downwards. Contraction of the diaphragm creates a partial vacuum in the thoracic cavity, which pulls air into the lungs through the nose or mouth. During expiration, the diaphragm relaxes and moves back up to its dome-shaped position, decreasing the volume of the thoracic cavity. This decrease in volume causes an increase in pressure within the lungs, pushing air out of the lungs and through the nose or mouth. Therefore, the diaphragm plays a crucial role in the breathing process, acting as the primary muscle responsible for the expansion and contraction of the thoracic cavity during respiration. 10. Explain why it is not possible to drown or suffocate a locust or grasshopper by holding its head underwater while the remaining part of the body is outside the water. B. Explain why a fish suffocates on dry land although atmospheric air contains more oxygen than water. C. Give reasons why it is healthier to breathe through the nose than through the mouth. It is not possible to drown or suffocate a locust or grasshopper by holding its head underwater while the remaining part of the body is outside the water because insects have a series of air-filled tubes called tracheae that distribute oxygen directly to the tissues. These tubes are connected to tiny openings called spiracles on the sides of their bodies. The spiracles are kept closed to prevent the loss of moisture. When submerged in water, these spiracles close to prevent water from entering the tracheae. Therefore, they can continue to breathe despite having their heads underwater. B. A fish suffocates on dry land although atmospheric air contains more oxygen than water because fish have specialized structures known as gills, which extract oxygen from water. Gills are composed of thin filaments that have a rich network of capillaries that allow oxygen exchange between the water and the fish's bloodstream. Gills are designed to extract oxygen from water, but they are not efficient at extracting oxygen from the air. Furthermore, when fish are out of the water, their gills become dry and compact, which makes it difficult for oxygen exchange to occur, leading to suffocation. C. Breathing through the nose is healthier than breathing through the mouth because the nose serves as a filter and humidifier for air entering the body. The nasal passages are lined with tiny hairs called cilia that trap dirt, dust, and other particulate matter, preventing them from entering the lungs. The nasal passages are also lined with moist mucous membranes that humidify the air, preventing it from drying out the lungs. Breathing through the mouth bypasses these filtering and humidifying mechanisms, which can lead to the inhalation of harmful particles and drying out of the lungs, leading to respiratory problems. 11. Name the structure used for gaseous exchange in the following organisms: fish, mammal, bird, grasshopper, land, terrestrial, green plants, spider, tadpole, frog, amoeba. Fish, gills. Mammal, lungs. Bird, air sacs and lungs. Grasshopper, tracheal tubes. Land, terrestrial, green plants, stomata and leaves. Spider, book lungs and/or tracheae. Tadpole, gills and skin. Frog, lungs and skin. Amoeba, cell membrane.